Hey guys, Sujoy over here. I'm back with another video. So on this video, I'm going to be talking about, is there teaching discrimination here in Vietnam, or is there teaching ESL racism out here in Vietnam? Um, I really didn't want to make this video, but I just thought of making it because I want to share my personal experiences. Believe me, I really didn't want to talk about this sensitive topic, and I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for making this video, but I think I'm trying to help out people who are non-natives and who want to come and teach English here in Vietnam, and especially if you're coming from, if you, I don't know if you can see or not, if you're coming from India, if you're coming from India, and if you want to teach English in Vietnam, I'm just going to share my personal experiences straight up. And I'm just going to disable the comment section for this video because I came to a point where I really felt very disgusted, and I felt that it's not, I just can't continue with this right now. So lately, that I was making a couple of videos about my coffee videos, and I told you in one of in I told you 2 days back that I'm doing this workshop with this very reputed language center. It's not BUS, it's not Wall Street, but it's definitely among the top five here in Vietnam. And frankly, I'm very freaking disappointed how this is actually shaped out. And, I felt so disgusted, actually, to be honest. And, I really want to talk about it because, what you're seeing on YouTube, about these couple of these educational channels, which are providing, TEFL certificates and all that, or maybe as a PR campaign, bringing on some black dudes and showing on video that, oh, they're not facing any racism here in Vietnam, or when it comes to teaching English or teaching discrimination here in Vietnam. Well, I hate to say this, but these are the folks who just want to get students for their TEFL courses, or they just want to profit. Okay, so these are just completely marketing videos, but I just want to talk from my personal experience because I've been living here for 5 years. I have over 3.5 years of teaching experience. I have gone through certain teaching discrimination here in Vietnam during my span of teaching English over here. But I was, you know, I was very sad. I was very sad how this prestigious, prestigious, reputed language school here in Vietnam, which is one of the top five language schools here in Vietnam. I'm just very disappointed, and I don't think I can continue with this. I'm just going to give you a few examples of my situation, and I think it's the best interest for me not to continue with the center. It's not always the brand. If you're a non-native teacher, and of course, if you're coming from India, and if you're holding in, if you have an, I don't know if you can see, if you're having an Indian passport, or you got to think a bit carefully, okay? Because it's not always, don't always go by the brand name. Maybe there are certain centers which just need teachers, just to fill up their numbers, but they don't want to care about how the teacher is going through when it comes to maybe the induction program and all those kind of things. So anyway, I'm going to talk about my personal experience with this workshop, and why I think I just felt seriously disgusted about this. So yeah, as I told you 2 days back, I started with this I started with this training program with this language school, prestigious language school at District One, and my instructors, like they're all white. I'm not a racist, but they're all white. They're British. They're from the UK, and majority of the students in my classroom, they're all Caucasians. Okay, white, but um, and of course, I did also have one student. She I think she's from South Africa, but she's a person of color. Okay, so she's got dark brown skin. I mean, she got dark brown skin, and same goes for me. But I'm not going to be talking about her, but I'm just going to be talking about my personal experience and why I felt disgusted and why I feel like I should not continue with these people. Firstly, I checked out the Glassdoor reviews of this reputed language center. Definitely, I can see from a lot of teachers who have worked in this language school, they were given toxic hours. I mean, they were given, they were working overtime. They were not paid properly. The management was very toxic. And that's a sad reality. A couple of these top reputed language centers here in Vietnam, you know, again, like I said, I'm not going to be naming that language center, but they just want to hire a lot of teachers just to fill up the numbers, but they don't want to care about the well-being of that teacher during the training program, or what the teacher is going through, especially like for me. So first day I was there, my instructor, I mean, he seemed really nice and everything, but what really hurt me, what really kind of was disturbing me was, like, things like, where you from? Okay, like, that's fine, I'm from India, and oh, I love Indian food, that's all fine, but things like, that instructor guy, like, he telling me, I like to go to Indian restaurants, but especially when you don't have Indians, especially when you don't have Indians in that restaurant, then I like to enjoy an Indian food in an Indian restaurant. Or I even had a British girl, I mean, she came from the UK, because I've been living here for many years. The problem is that many of these teachers, like in my training program, they're just fresh, they're just new in Vietnam. But this girl, she's like, she kind of asked me, she's white, she's a British from UK. She kind of asked me, where are you from? I said, I'm from India. And she said, oh, really? So she told me, do you know how to make Indian food? I said, no. And I told her I don't like spicy food. And then she told me that, oh, you're from India. I thought you should like spicy food. I mean, I kind of get sick out of this, like, just because I'm an Indian doesn't mean that I'm going to eat only spicy food. Not all Indian people like to eat spicy food, but it's just like a primitive way of generalizing me as an Indian, just because, I hold an Indian passport, and, you know, and of course, the reason why I was selected also is because, I have an American bachelor's degree from a U.S. college, and I have a TESOL certificate, and so maybe I was selected, but it's very hard, even if to get a job, an English teaching job with one of these top reputed centers here in Vietnam. If you're holding an Indian passport, and even if you're selected, you're gonna have a very difficult time. Like for me, I had a difficult time during my training, during these couple of days in this workshop. I just felt disgusted, and again, coming back to the instructor, I won't name him, but there were two instructors. I believe two were from UK. They're all white instructors, and this guy, whenever, like, I come early a bit to the class in the morning, and like, aircon is working, but the instructor has to, like, when some students are there, when I'm sitting when I was sitting among my white fellow students, and like, he comes right in, the aircon is working, and he seems to be fine. But like he's like, oh, it's hot in here. Is it hot in here? Is it hot in here? The aircon is working fine. It's cool. Is it hot in here? I mean, I even had this discussion with the South African girl today. I mean, she's black. I mean, she's got dark brown skin. She's an extremely nice person. I won't name her, but yeah, she told me that she's finding it very challenging, and she's got past experience of teaching English in China and how she was being discriminated because of her dark brown skin. So, and what really also bothered me in this training program is that you know you I feel like the instructor should make it a point to motivate all students to participate, irrespective of where that student is coming from. I mean, for us teachers who are going to be teaching at the center, I saw lack of engagement. I was kind of avoided, neglected, because and all these other teachers in this workshop, they were communicating. The instructors were giving more importance to those other teachers in this workshop, who are all white, and hey, and for us, like for me, just because I got dark brown skin and I'm from India, I was not given attention, or even when I was communicating or trying to participate, I was not given that kind of motivation. I was kind of, frankly speaking, I felt very demotivated to to participate in this training program. And emotionally, I was getting a lot of hurt. I was feeling very upset for the past few days. I mean, I don't wanted to say about this. I don't wanted to talk about this, but it's definitely something which is there in this ESL teaching industry out here in Vietnam. Um, you know, Even if you go to websites like teaching jobs or Vietnam teaching jobs, you'll find a couple of schools. They may say all nationalities, or first is United States, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, all nationalities. But what I mean is, if even if you're Russian, okay, even if you're Russian, European, you got white skin, you can work in these top reputed centers just because of your skin color. But if you're from India and you're non-native, you may not be treated properly in these language centers. You may not be treated well when you're teaching in these schools, or and you may be, and chances are you will be treated poorly during these training programs. Like it just happened to me with this top reputed language school here in Vietnam. And I felt disgusted, like every freaking day, like there were certain kind of slurs which were indirect, but they were like subtle racism, like certain kind of things, like, and like a couple of these, a couple of my fellow teacher students in my workshop, they just have this in their mind, like, oh, I'm white, and I'm going to be, I'm treated, and you can make it out from their eyes. They don't want to they don't want to do group activities with me, or even with that South African girl. It's just like, of course she was participating, but for me, I was like getting constantly neglected. Like, you had some American teachers in this workshop. They were all white. You had this British, a couple of British nationals. You had one New Zealand girl. Oh, she was like extremely, she just was kind of like, forget it. She was like kind of avoiding me. There's nothing wrong with me. It's just that I was treated very poorly. It's just that, just because I'm not coming from South Africa, New Zealand, America, or I'm not holding the preferred passport and just because I'm holding an Indian passport does not give you the right to treat me very poorly. And it's just that don't go by all these marketing things, like, oh, all nationalities welcome, or watching these other YouTube channels where they try to show Vietnam is a great place for you to become an English teacher, and everyone's welcome and all that, but they don't talk about the reality. And even a couple of these YouTube channels, they just want to market their teaching courses, okay, or they want to provide a TEFL. So it's a sad reality. It's grossly, there's a lot of racism. I'm not making it up, but like things happen to me, like my instructor talking with the whole group. I'm also part. He's giving eye connections. He's giving eye contacts to all the team members. I'm not. He pretends that I don't exist in the classroom, or if he's handing something to me, he's like giving it to me like, or giving me a sheet of paper. He gives like this. I mean, like, you can make it out, like, that you're gonna be that, and emotionally, it's very draining. And second thing, what I really felt, odd about this top reputed language school is that the academic manager, she messaged me and she told me, Sujoy, this weekend you need to observe some classes. Okay, fine. I don't mind observing one or two classes, or even I can observe three classes or whatever. But she's freaking giving me an email with the schedule, like, oh, I start at 7:45 on Saturday, and I'll finish my day around 6, I think around 7 or 6:30 in the evening. I mean, I have to observe all the goddamn classes, and then Sunday I have to observe from 10 a.m. all the way up to 6:30. I mean, don't you think that's a bit too much? I mean, already I'm having such a difficult time with this training program. It's not that I'm not understanding anything. I understand everything in the training program, but I felt very demotivated to participate in this training program because, frankly, I was getting very disgusted with these instructors. And it's a shame that these instructors are getting fat salaries and they are practicing these forms of racism, and what's that called in English? Giving cold treatments. Okay, giving cold treatments. Okay, just because I'm not a native speaker, and I'm from India, and it's just sick. It's just really sick, and just makes me sick to realize that these people are actually working in these centers, and there's nothing done about that. Seriously, sitting on fat salaries, and just because you're white, and encouraging other white teachers to do well in the training program, and that's not the way to go about it. You should treat everyone equally and fairly. So I was not treated properly, for sure. And and even the facility, I mean, even like the building, like a lot of construction was going around, very noisy, and it's just like, a sad state of affairs. I would say a sad state of affairs. I mean, I'm not generalizing with all the schools out here in Vietnam, but this was kind of very shocking. Yes, there are schools where you can teach, where you can teach at the centers in the evening, or you can teach at public schools. They do hire non-native teachers also, but majority of the time, most of these non-native teachers could be from Russia, Europe, which is the new trend right now, or as long as you got white skin and all that. But yeah, I mean, this is something which needs to be sorted out. I mean, especially teachers, who are who are qualified, who have a teaching certificate, and if they're coming from India. I think that needs to be looked upon. I mean, I was a bit surprised why I was being selected for this. Knowing that I'm going to be having this kind of treatment, I felt disgusted. Like, can you imagine things like, oh, I mean, my instructor telling me I like Indian restaurants, but I don't want to go there if there are Indians, or oh, you're Indian, I thought you like spicy food, or is it hot in here, whatever it is. But and like the icon, it's because when you're doing a training workshop, it's very important to have engagement with the instructor and the students. But if the instructor is avoiding a student, that's sad. I mean, that's disgusting, and especially, sitting on fat salaries. So yeah, I mean, it's something which is really disturbing, and it's a shame to see that it's happening in one of these top language schools, top 5 language schools here in Vietnam. I'm not going to be naming the school, but you can check out the Glassdoor reviews and all that. It's not only about treating teachers like numbers or making teachers do overtime with less pay. I think there needs to be some kind of a form. There needs to be, definitely corrections in this. And, the education ministry here in Vietnam needs to seriously look into this. I mean, come on, majority of the people in India also speak English, and if a guy like me who has an American, let me just show you. Hold on. A guy like me, I'm not cribbing around, but a guy like me who has, I don't know if you, yeah, who has an American, United States of America bachelor's degree with a TESOL certificate. If I'm having issues just because of my passport, and just because that's a wrong way to go about it. And I feel sorry for most of the teachers in my workshop, because they come with this mindset. It's just really, it's just definitely. I mean, I was very nice with everybody, but I mean, if you're coming to Vietnam with the mindset that, oh, I'm white, and I'm going to be treated well, and if my fellow teacher is a black or Indian, I want to keep away from that teacher, or I don't want to associate myself with him or her just because he or she is an Indian teacher. That's a wrong way to go about it. That shows you're not that shows you're not a person of you don't have good qualities in you, and it technically shows that you're a racist. Okay, so I'm not making this up, but this is from my personal experience. So yeah, this was my third day, and so I've decided I'm not going to continue. I'm not going to continue with this kind of treatment, and it's just really, really hard for me, and so maybe I need to look into something else. I mean, maybe some other language school which would treat teachers coming from India a bit better. So yeah, I mean, I just wanted to make this video because I wanted to let it out. I wanted to let it out, and because nobody talks about this. This is a very sensitive topic, and I'm just sharing my personal experience. And even if you're giving observation classes, just give a few. Who's asking you to be the whole weekend from morning to evening and Sunday whole, and then and the following day you start to. I mean, it's so toxic. I mean, you got to also watch out for. I forgot to tell you something. Is that I also heard that a couple of these top reputed language schools, they do also when you're doing the training program or something, there could be certain students. They are actually teachers of that language school. I know it sounds crazy, but maybe they're there to evaluate you, real time, and so because if somebody's going to be asking me like So how are you finding the how are you finding the workshop here at the center, or asking some questions which normally is usually not asked, or probing somebody is, I mean, I have a feeling like maybe, a couple of those students with whom I was in that training program could be from that language school, So you never know, and but yeah, I was kind of disappointed. It's just that I don't think it's working out for me, and I just wanted to make this video because I'm a YouTuber here in Vietnam, and I want to caution teachers, especially if you're coming from India. Just be a bit mindful of this. Um, so I hope things can get a bit. I really hope things can change. And they can stop all this. Teaching, hiring, discrimination, and these forms of racisms. Like, it's sad. It's a sad reality, and I just feel like I had to talk about it. Today is not one of my best days, but it's been going on for a couple of days. I didn't want to share it on my YouTube channel, but I said that okay, I got to talk about this. I really got to talk about this, and this is real. So it is pretty real. These things keep on happening. And also, there are certain forms of treating non-native teachers, like especially if you have dark brown skin or if you have black skin, they can give you long hours. They can give you long hours. They can give you crazy schedules just to make you leave, that school, or just to make you feel exhausted, and just to make you quit, or make your life very difficult in the training workshop, for you to stand down, for you to quit the workshop. So these are the forms, these are the ways. Okay. I have been always, I've always done the home assignments. I've always been, participating in these groups and all that, but it's just not the way how this school, this reputed language school, needs to operate. Yeah, I'm not very happy with this, and it's sad. So yeah, tomorrow is a new day. I'm just gonna start everything fresh. But definitely, I'm not gonna continue with this. I'm not gonna continue with this form of poor treatment, which I was getting, this form of emotional hurt, this form of cold treatments, which I was getting from my fellow teacher students, who are predominantly white and who are new to Vietnam. And being treated, being isolated. But if my friend, if my South African friend, lady, if she's watching this video, I wish you all the very best. You're a very nice person, and I think you're one of the best persons. You're one of the most genuine persons I met in this training workshop, and I wish you all the very best with this language school. I know you're going to be going out to a remote location here in Vietnam to teach, but I wish you all the very best. So, with that being said, you guys have a great evening. This was me, Sujoy. Peace out.